The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us here in FRC Media. As we get closer to the November 7th election, we're speaking to as many candidates as possible. So when you go and vote, we hope you will make informed decisions. Joining me today is someone who we spoke to during the preliminary election. He is a former school committee member looking to run for city council. He is running for city council, exactly. Looking to get elected to the city council.
Exactly.
Bob Pearson. Bob, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
You finished, I believe, 16th?
Yes,
in the
by lottery.
No, I'm talking about in the preliminary.
Oh, yes.
You finished 16th.
Right.
How did you view the preliminary? I know there was a low turnout.
Well, I figured between me and the next person was like 50 votes.
Right.
And all the way up to 9th and 10th place is probably 200 to 300.
Right.
So that's, I believe, due to the poor turnout.
Yeah. Do you think we hope we'll have a better turnout in?
Well, I'm counting on it not snowing November 7th because that could kill it too.
Yeah.
But we can only hope.
So are you doing anything different campaigning these last few weeks?
I try to stay on the ground, with my feet planted on the ground. I usually go with my wife when she shops. She takes a carriage and I say, you know where I'll be. I'm all over the store. And I kiddingly say to mothers or dads or whatever, you want to eat all that food? What is that going to cost you? And I say, by the way, I'm Bob Pearson, I'm running for city council. Oh, I've seen your signs. Well, that's good. You live in Fall River? And sometimes they say, no, I live in the Sonnet. Well, thanks for your time. I'll move on. But, that's the way it is. Yeah.
During the forum, just so people understand the time frame here, we're actually recording this after the city council forums that we held prior to the election. During that forum, I believe it was one of the last questions was asked, and I believe it was to your panel, there was a question about incumbents. What were you proud about? And if you're a challenger,
right.
What do you bring to the table?
That did happen on that panel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Answer that question now for this audience.
Well, what I bring to the city council if elected, and I like to say when elected, is a new voice, a change of heart, perhaps. Someone who's not afraid to walk into the mayor's office, whom I know very well and I respect, and say, gee, Mr. Mayor, this is what we need to do. And here are some ideas I have on various subjects. And hopefully he'll listen. And I think he will, whether it's he or Mr. Sutter. However, you need new ideas whenever you walk into a new job or your boss isn't going to respect you. You're just here to collect the pay. Okay, we're going to pay you. Next thing you know, you're out the door. Yeah. So, I think the incumbents, by and large, I would say at least 3 of them are doing a very good job. We have 2 who are not going to be there, and one of them is a good friend of mine, Leo Pelletier. Leo gives me advice from time to time, and the other night I said he's the kind of guy that you can talk to. You can have a beer with him so long as you buy the first one. Yeah. But Leo's a regular guy, and I want to take his seat on the council, and I will continually ask him for help on certain matters. Yeah. But there are councilors who I know I can depend on to tell me the truth, and this is what we need to do and how to do it.
The role of a city councilor, as I mentioned in the open, you were a one-time school committee member for 1 term, I believe. City council is totally different.
Yes.
You have different constituencies that you represent. One of the roles of the city council, a city councilor, is to take a lot of phone calls from residents. They could be dealing with a lot of different issues: trash pickup, public safety,
constituent service.
Right, it's definitely constituent services. How do you feel you would thrive in that role if elected?
I believe I did it before when I was on the school committee. Okay. And I would get calls at 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes because someone worked from 3 to 11, and they're at home and maybe they're trying to relax before they actually turn in. And they say, wait a minute, I have every right to call that school committee person. I don't care if it is midnight. And they do. And they did. A couple of issues, such as the Doran School, it had a asbestos-covered pipe leaking hot water. And a child who was in the bathroom took a little burn from it. At those days, I called Danny Raposa at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I said, Dan, we got to get down there and check that out. And we did. And we removed the asbestos by a professional company.
Yeah.
CFC helped us immensely. CFC being Citizens for Citizens. And those are the things you have to do. If to think your day is, Saturdays and Sundays off, you can forget that. That doesn't happen. And like I said before, when I'm in the supermarket, even back then, and even now, people say, well, what are you going to do? What's your biggest thing you want to do? And I tell them the truth.
Yeah. So in terms of, you mentioned that if you're elected, you hope you'll be able to be an independent voice and reach out to the mayor and other councilors. But you just mentioned in that last answer, people want to know what your biggest issue is. So what is your biggest issue?
My biggest issue is about our water, our sewer, and our rainwater runoff fee. Our rainwater runoff fee, last time I looked at it, was raising close to $7 million. Now that's an awful lot of money that regrettably is coming off the back of the taxpayers. And I tell you, when you open your water bill, sometimes that rainwater fee is more than your water bill, sometimes not. I've got a 90-some-year-old, I won't say how old, she'll be mad as hell at me, mother-in-law, who said to me, hey, wannabe city council, what are you going to do about this? And she showed me a water bill. I says, we can work at it. I said, I can't guarantee we're going to solve the problem, but if myself and 3 or 4 other councilors say, hey, we've got to do something about this, let's go see the mayor, let's try to get this fixed.
Yeah.
But I mean, the water, you need water. And at one time, this city had the best water in the whole state and parts of the country. I mean, I know that because my aunt was on the water department. She ran the office with 6 girls under her. Today there's like 9. However, times will move on.
Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes to trying to control water rates, sewer rates, rainwater fee, it's a recommendation that comes down from the water department. And it's an enterprise fund, which means that the fees collected goes right back into the operation. Pretty much your only recourse would be just to deny, right?
Right.
Deny the rates, or
You can deny their budget. Sure.
Yeah, deny their budget. So is that something you would consider?
Absolutely. I'd say take it back, look it over. Because I was on the water board for 6 years, 3 of them as president. And I watched the girls in the office, and I said, what are we doing? Well, I'm getting the budget ready for the next council meeting. I said, so they had a blank and the budget side by side. It was a copy. I said, what are we doing? I said, well, we're going to increase it by 10% and hope it flies. I said, we're not reducing anything? No. And that needs to change. We need to help the taxpayers, not keep putting burdens on them.
Yeah. Another big issue that has been on the minds of a lot of the candidates, pretty much all the candidates this election cycle, is affordable housing, the cost of housing in Fall River. I believe you mentioned the other day at the forum that the city is doing a decent job in affordable housing and doesn't necessarily need more. Is that correct?
That's correct. I mean, I've known people who've gone through various housing projects, and they've become productive people. Most of those people in housing projects are having a very tough time. It's not easy. If you walked into the old harbor, the Pleasant View, for instance, the place stunk. It's improved. I mean, you see they have these bins outside for trash. Well, that, warrants a rat coming in. And in the summertime, those doors are left wide open. So, I mean, the people who run the housing department have their hands full. Sunset Hill is the same way. And, those people need help, but the hard-working taxpayers of our city who support a lot of that project deserve a break. I mean, they can't keep putting good money into bad. It just doesn't work that way. Garbage in, garbage out. We can't do that. But there's a housing shortage. But as I said the other night, the old housing project on Rodman Street, been torn down, nothing's happened. And I'm sure the mayor and his team have an eye on what to do with it and when to do it. Of course, money's always the goal. Do we have enough money to do this project, but not that project? I remember this college when it wasn't that great a college. We used to call it Beer Can College, because when you left class, you had a couple of beers, and they didn't always go in the barrel. So it became Beer Can College. Look at it today. This is a beautiful facility. My daughter graduated from this facility, and now she is like a vice president of a bank. I mean, my God, good for her.
Yeah.
You know.
Let me ask you finally just about crime, another issue that has been brought up throughout the campaign. You know, Police Chief Garvin has said, you know, they've got money for the officers, they don't have the people physically to take those positions. How, as one counselor, can you help with that?
Well, I've met with Chief Garvin at a lot of neighborhood meetings, and I praise his ability to find the time to come to those meetings, and he listens. And he can go on for hours and hours. I'll tell you, this man knows his stuff. And I think he's one of the best chiefs we've ever had. However, as a counselor, I think the way you help is you get out there and see what's going on. I mean, you want to see crime? I don't want to be in the fight with a police officer and someone he's trying to take down. But the body cameras are probably the answer to a lot of our issues. So counselors should sit down and review some of those body cams. You know, I know people on the state police, and I got stopped one day in Swansea because I came to a rolling stop at a stop sign, and the officer come up and he says, "Need your license and registration, by the way, you're on camera." I says, "Okay, but I haven't done anything wrong." He says, "Well, the car in front of you stopped, and then you proceeded after the car at a stop sign." I said, "Okay, so you got me." And he was nice. He says, "It's just a warning. Have a good day."
Yeah.
But I think the body cameras are an excellent tool for the police officers and for the citizens.
Yeah. Well, Bob Pearson, I appreciate your time as always, and good luck in the election. And
thank you, Keith.
Hopefully we'll talk again soon. I appreciate it.
I certainly will.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us here at FRC Media. And please make a point to vote on Tuesday, November 7th.